Welcome to Pixel Realms, the podcast where two geeks dive headfirst into the gaming multiverse. They're basically like Gandalf in a headset, minus the wisdom and magic. So, grab your snacks and level up your patience. Pixel Realms, where the pixels are real, but the knowledge, not so much.
This is Pixel Realms, episode 12, Oh My Sequel. I am Joe.
And I am Mark.
And so sequels have been out for quite a long time. And when it comes to video games, not only video games, but also with movies and books and whatever else, we can come up with, there's always going to be a sequel. And especially with movies, I think it's almost a given that the sequel is never as good as the original. Very few exceptions.
Yeah, very, very few exceptions. I think off the top of my head, I think Ninja Turtles is the only one where I think I really liked The Secret of the Ooze better than the first movie.
It was good. I don't know if it was better though. I think it was. I personally feel it was a little bit not as good, maybe just a hair, but it was good still. I love both of them.
Better, but I did have my problems with it because that was the one, if you remember, where they never really used their weapons because there was like a big stink about that. So there's scenes in the beginning of the movie where I think it was Michelangelo was using sausages as his nunchucks, and they were using kids' toys and other things because they didn't want to use their quote unquote weapons for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, they were trying to get more kid friendly since Jim Henson was part of the Muppeteering stuff.
Yeah.
But Back to the Future. Personally, I like the second one more than the first one, but
better.
By a hair. Very few exceptions.
Ghostbusters. What do you think of Ghostbusters?
So many people hate the second one. So many people hate. Yeah, hate. I love both of them. I thought they were fine. Now, first one for me was the better one. The second one was not as good. Like Indiana Jones, people prefer the third one to the first one.
Yeah, third one was Raiders, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark was always the one that whenever I hear someone talk about Indiana Jones, it's always that movie.
Now, take the same talk and bring it into video games. Can you name a sequel that you preferred?
So I loved Mass Effect 2 over Mass Effect 1. But Mass Effect 2 is almost a perfect game, in my opinion. Shoot, I'm sure there's more, but now that I'm on the spot, I'm blanking.
Witcher 3 would probably be my
Witcher 3.
Only game I could think of.
Witcher 2 was better than 1, then 3 was better than both of them. So there was one where the games got better. But then again, that was probably a sign of times as well.
Well, that was going to be my my thought process is that when it comes to games, when they come out, sometimes they're smaller studios. And
Assassin's Creed, another good one.
Assassin's Creed, yeah.
I didn't play the Assassin's Creed series, but everyone loves Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. And whenever I was thinking about playing it, I always heard people tell me, skip the first game and play Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And again, I think that's part of the times. I think they didn't put a lot of money into the first one, had a little bit more to spend, and they put that into the second one, making it a more successful game.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we dive into the sequels, let's talk about the news right quick. We have just a little bit of news, and it's all rumored stuff, which is always fun to talk about. The first one would be Flight Sim, since I'm a big simmer. The rumor is that Flight Sim will be making its way over to the Switch 2 when that is released sometime, and PlayStation 5. And the PS5 would be probably more obtainable because of the system specs and requirements. I don't know how it would run on a Switch 2 personally. But it is through the cloud, so there is that opportunity in there. But it's something
here's a question though, Joe. Not to cut you off, but if Flight Sim is able to be fully run, would that be something that interests you as a hardcore Flight Sim person? Meaning, you can take Flight Sim on the go.
Well, it's already on the Xbox, so no.
Okay.
It's a poor version.
But can you take it on the go though with Xbox? You can't really
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, for those who don't have the money or ability to get a console, getting it on a PC to get out. Those who have the money to get on a PC, can afford a console. it's great to get into flight sim, but someone who's into it like I am, the PC is the way to go, and I could never ever play it on a console.
It's fair.
But so Asobo, Microsoft have, well, more so Microsoft has talked about opening the doors more to their IPs to other platforms, and not just for the flight sim stuff, but so much more. There's been rumors of Halo jumping maybe over to Nintendo, over to PlayStation. So I think it would be a good test for them to do it with a game that is a bit more easier to port over. Flight Sim would be good for that because it is running through the cloud. So
if Microsoft exclusive games like Halo move over to and appear on something like PlayStation, would you count that as like the official like end of Xbox as a console?
Well, they did say they're continuously going to make consoles, but the big rumor mill behind all of this is that they might be getting into a handheld, which would be interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be hard. It's hard to beat Steam Deck at this point. Steam Deck seems to be like the way to go.
Microsoft has the money, so if they do what Sony did way back with the PS3 and sell it as a loss and make up their money through the Xbox Live or whatever that's called now, there's that opportunity.
Fair enough.
Switch 2.
And then the Switch 2. I mean, I'm a big fan of Nintendo. Even though I'm not a console gamer by any means anymore, I'm always going to have a special place for Nintendo. It's never not going to be something that interests me just because of the franchises that they have alone. But yeah, I mean, there's a rumor that it's going to probably be somewhere between $3.99 and $4.99 possibly. So for the new Switch, which is going to be, quite hefty of a price for a Nintendo console, but it is supposedly going to have a major graphic overhaul kind of up there with current consoles. So, paying $400 isn't really outside of that stretch of the imagination.
Think about this whenever it was released, the Super Nintendo was priced at about $200, which in today's money is about $450. Yep. So it's within the price range of times. So it does seem higher. This is going to be a fully
portable console, unlike a PlayStation 5. You're not carrying your PlayStation 5 and playing games on the go for $500. So there's a big difference between the Switch 2 having that multifaceted gimmick of being able to plug it into a TV and also take it on the go, lay on your bed at night and play, with your Switch for a little while and then, plug it back into the charger and then pick up your controllers and play it on the screen when the battery gets low. I mean, big difference. So I really don't think the price is that big of a deal, but I could see why people would be upset if they are upset because Nintendo is supposed to be that friendly price point where people who don't have a lot of money can still buy a console for their children.
It might be just slightly out of reach, depending on when it launches. It might be slightly out of reach for some to get it for Christmas.
Yeah.
I know there are some families that would really love to get this for their children. And at $400, it might be, that $100 out of range to be able to afford it for presents, But we'll see. We'll see. It's looking very highly likely it's going to be about that $400 price range. But Nintendo can pull some bunnies out of hats sometimes, and maybe they'll do $350 or something. That'd be cool. Or maybe they'll have two different versions. One that's $3, one that's $4. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and these are all just rumors right now. We're not going to talk heavily about it until they're doing a Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, I believe. So that's when that happens. We'll cover it then, and then we'll talk about it because we'll have more factual stuff. We're not in the business of spreading rumors. We're into facts. Now we can talk about rumors because they affect things, but it's the confirmation that we're always going to look for.
Speaking of rumors, how much, Mark, would you be willing to spend on a base level brand new game?
Well,
not the ultimate edition, not the premium edition, the based version, the cheapest version you can get.
See, that's the thing though. I'm probably a a bad person to ask in this situation because I struggled with $60 when it was 40 and 50 for a lot of games. I thought those were fair, price points. But then when it started going up to 60 and now the base 70 for a lot of games, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'd have to really give a shit about the game.
Yeah. I feel the $60 price tag is reasonable. I think it's an affordable number. If you have the expendable income, $60 is obtainable. If you don't, you'll just wait for it to be on sale in 6 months to a year.
Yep.
But when we're getting up to the $80 and $100, which is what the rumor is for GTA 6, I think this is greed at the highest level because not only are you buying the base game, but then there'll of course be all the microtransactions in there that these companies can get from you. And it's just about squeezing every penny.
Oh yeah, I mean GTA alone and with GTA 5 GTA 5 was the game. The GTA Online is what you were paying for long term. They had microtransactions. They had their GTA currency. I forget what it was called. I don't know if it was called anything specific, but
there was some name. I can't remember it either.
Yeah, and that's where they made a lot of their money.
So and GTA Cash, maybe.
Yeah, probably. And GTA 6 is going to do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get a base storyline game that people are going to play, and the storyline is probably going to be good. From a lot of people loved the GTA 5 storyline, but the online stuff is what people are going to care about the most because the online gaming community in GTA is expansive. It's huge. It's one of the biggest RP communities I think I've ever seen. So that's where they're going to make their money.
Here's something. Now that I'm kind of mixing both of these two next things together. So our rumor about the price tag, that's 80 to 100, and then our sequel thing. Okay, so I'm gonna bring you back in time just a little bit. I bought myself what was it, the Quest Rift or whatever it was called back in the day, the Rift, whatever it's called. Anyways, I bought Oculus Rift, right? Yeah. Okay, so I had bought that because my cousin, who's big in VR, really got me into buying one. So I bought one, played Beat Saber, absolutely loved it, and has been my go-to game in VR. And then eventually I bought the Quest 2 as an upgrade for the portability. I don't have no strings attached. I like that feature. But I did not buy Beat Saber again for the Quest 2. If you wanted it on Quest 2, you had to rebuy it. I had it in the Meta store.
Ooh, I did not know that.
Only for the Rift, but not for the Quest. Well, recently, as in the last 6 months, it was that they allowed it to now be cross-buy. So if you own it on the Rift, it also automatically ported over to the Quest 2 for you. Because of that, I bought music packs. So I gave them $2 per song. I bought a couple music packs. Before that, when I was using the Rift or the Quest 2 on PC, the PC VR version, so I could use Beat Saber, I would use mods to get other songs. I was not willing to spend money on Beat Saber because they're screwing me from using my game that I already bought on a VR headset that they already own on another headset that they own.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so because they made it cross-buy, I was willing to give them additional money so that I could have legitimate official music on the Quest. So why I'm bringing that up is because it's not a sequel. It's their same game on another platform that they own. And I feel that something Nintendo has done, they have brought games over from the Wii over to this, the Wii and Wii U over to the Switch, and then threw a $60 price tag on it. And I know that's not a sequel per se, but it's also a cash grab because that can't take that much money to port on over.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a cash grab. I think it depends, though, because I know they weren't doing it with every game. And then there were some games where they were at least completely retooling them and bringing them out so that they could put it at a $60 price point. But like just a straight port over, I don't think they did it with a lot, but they still did it. And that is definitely cash grab because I feel like backwards compatibility should be just a no-brainer at this point. But I guess it could just be technology because maybe the Wii technology, they had to do something different to get it to work on the Switch.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
sure,
know. But
yeah, I'm sure there was some sort of effort. I'm not saying that was just a click a button and drag it over, but
yeah,
was it reasonable to charge $60
no,
for
absolutely
an
not.
old
Especially if
game?
you bought it.
You know,
Especially if you've already bought it.
yeah, and we mentioned this with Red Dead Redemption when they port that over from the PS, whatever it was, PS3 over to the Switch, and then over to recently over to the PC, and they threw a $60, $40, $50 price tag on it for a game
Mhm.
that's a decade old. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
and there wasn't
you
that
know,
big of an upgrade either to the graphics itself.
yeah. I mean, it's a corporation thing, though. Like they know they know Red Dead is a big franchise. Especially they maybe didn't know that with Part One. Like it did well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It sold extremely well, and those are great franchises.
Mhm.
The question that comes to my mind is the whole idea of, are we just going to keep seeing the same game redone over and over every 10 years because they can't come up with new ideas, because they can't come up with a sequel, or they've tried sequels in the past and they bombed? Mass Effect is an example.
Yeah.
Dragon Age is a recent example. Sequels have not done so well. So the guys over at BioWare was asked a question: will we see a Dragon Age 1 remaster ever happening? And they said unlikely, because the code was so complex that they would have to find the original developers to help them decipher what the code was to port it on over for a remastered version. So it
Huh.
means that someone there was probably thinking about it, but gave up on it because it's just too expensive.
Yeah. Um. I mean, look at. I guess the question is, it depends because look at Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed games. They were putting them out almost yearly. You got um, Call of Duty comes out with a new game every couple of years, and there for a while there, at least 5-10 years ago, some of those sequels were literally just the exact same game with like extra maps or slightly different
You remember?
maps or new guns or whatever.
Do you remember Far Cry Primal?
Yes, I do.
The Far Cry Primal map was a reused map from whatever the previous Far Cry game was.
Uh,
Okay, I don't know if you knew that, but the actual map, the terrain, the elevation, everything, all they did was they threw new vegetation on it, different buildings, and called it a new game. A new story, whatever. But the actual map itself, someone went ahead and found the map, threw it on top of the other one, and it was exactly the same. Where the lake was in the previous Far Cry game, that's where it is in Primal.
okay, I didn't know that, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it should be so after all, but I mean, on that point, I mean, look at EA and your yearly game, sports game, where 9 times out of 10, it's just a roster update. I think recent years they've tried to quote unquote make it a new game by adding some kind of new type of story mode gimmick, which is like, I when was it? When did they start adding story modes to their sports games? Because there used to be just a career mode where you would just play through an entire season, starting with the draft,
Well,
and
I
just
blame
play
it
a
on
season.
I blame it on SmackDown versus Raw.
I don't think you can blame SmackDown
I
versus
I
Raw.
think there wasn't there story mode back then. I want to say that was one of the first kind of
But those
sportish
are
games.
wrestling games. They have storylines because that's how wrestling's been. You
Yeah.
don't see famous basketball star whoever and famous basketball star number two suddenly having like a backstage brawl that leads to a match on the court. It's like that's not how that works.
I don't know. I never played any of the wrestling games for the story mode. I always just been like, I'm gonna do Goldberg versus Hogan, or DDP versus Sting or something.
I mean, I agree with you. I didn't either, but at least it made sense in that regard because wrestling had storylines and whatnot. I'm talking about your football, your basketball, your baseball. These stupid story modes that they've incorporated to try and make an excuse to say it's a new game when it's really like you only buy the game for the roster update. That's it.
To play devil's advocate here, the career modes, at least for the basketball stuff, is, and I don't do it because this is not why I buy a basketball game, but, and this is the same for MLB and NFL, I believe as well, but, is you create your character and you now are playing for, whatever, the Orlando Magic, the Boston Celtics, the Chicago Bulls, whatever. You now try to get to the team you want to get to and win championships as your player, and that's who you control in that mode. Or you can go into the little, whatever, their online park community thing and play against real people with your character. So instead of in real world going out there and shooting ball, you're shooting it ball in virtual gameplay.
Joe, it's called Create a Character. It's been in the games for as long as I could remember. I didn't need a storyline of, being some kid down in the dumps and trying to make it in this world and climb my way up and go and, try and get a date for the prom and make sure that I don't miss curfew and get a good grade on my test so that I can qualify for my team. I just want to make a dude that represents me, pick a jersey number, and put me on the team that I fucking want to be on. I don't need a fucking storyline. You never needed a storyline. No one plays these games for storylines. And if they say they do, they're lying.
It actually is super. No, it is. It is. There's been, go on, YouTube and search up. People have all kinds of fun doing their what is it? My player mode, whatever it's called. It's surprisingly successful. I don't play like that. And no one that I know personally does it as well, but it is super popular, surprisingly.
I don't think they give a shit about the storyline. I think they just like the fact that there's an extensive character creator, because then you can make like the most ridiculous looking fucker in the world. I mean, Street Fighter 6, I believe, is the current Street Fighter that's out, and they added like that kind of thing where you can make your own fighter and you can make him look freaking ridiculous, and you can essentially fight as him, I think, or I forget how that works. I haven't watched enough of gameplay because I don't play fighting games, but I know there's like an incorporation to that character in the storyline, whether you actually play as the character and not as a Street Fighter character, or you adapt the style or whatever. I don't know. All I'm saying is, when you're playing a sports game, you're really doing it for a roster update or maybe a graphic update, and that's probably it. But the fact of the matter is that every year, like clockwork, we get a new game in your EA series, and with $60 price tags, now $70 price tags, plus deluxe editions, season passes, epic editions, hardcore, ultimate, mega, super explosion editions. It's asinine. It really is, and it's a cash grab. It's 100% a cash grab. You could stick a $20 price tag on a DLC and not have to make another goddamn basketball game or Madden game for like 2-3 years when there's an actual big enough graphical upgrade in stuff to be like, all right, we have to make a new game now because the graphics look completely different and have evolved, etc. Like, no.
I agree. The price tags are completely wrong. And from year to year, there is very few changes, gameplay-wise and graphics-wise, to really feel that $60 is worth the price, or now $70 and on the console versions, especially for a new sports game.
It's ridiculous.
And it's never going to change, though, because people buy it. We were looking at the numbers before, and it was incredible to see how many people buy the brand new version of a game.
It's crazy.
I was one of those people a decade ago, but I was one of those people that would buy the new sport game every single year. And eventually I got tired and whatever. There's no innovation, no major changes to it that I would wait for them to become on sale. I buy the NBA games. Used to buy the MLB, the show games back on PlayStation time, but Yeah, so I stopped and now I wait for like $20 or $30 sale because that's what I'm willing to spend because that's about the hours I expect to put into it, between 20 and 60 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those kind of games they market to mainstream people, and oftentimes not this isn't in every case, but oftentimes uh, the people that are playing these games aren't quote unquote like gamers in the sense of like they have a set couple games that they play and that's it. Like they play their yearly Madden or their yearly basketball game, and then they grab their like the newest Call of Duty, and then that's really all they do.
My
You know,
new brother-in-law, he owns a what's he have? I don't remember. I think it's some Xbox. I don't remember. Anyways, all he plays is COD. He just buys a new COD every single year. That's all he plays. He has a whatever $400 system and plays COD.
yeah, and that works for those people, and I guess that's why they keep making those games. But you know, and that's how they're getting away with these full price tags. But that's what I'm saying that's what we're saying is the problem, though, right? Because like they're putting a $60-$70 price tag on essentially maybe $20 to $40 worth of content.
Yeah, and that's a lot of DLCs. A lot of DLCs are the same way. There are very few things, and I hate going back and praising CG Project Red for all the things that they've done positive, especially with Witcher 3. But you think of the two DLCs that came with Witcher 3, both of them were brand new worlds, brand new experiences, and I think at launch they were like, at the launch of the DLC themselves, they were like $20 DLCs. I think you can get both of them for like $40 plus you get a bunch of other crap with it too. And
I think so.
Cyberpunk was the same way. Cyberpunk, as bad of a launch it was, Liberty City, a whole brand new area, and awesome cast and a bunch of new crap, and it was, I don't know, $30 or $40 for the DLC, and you got another 40, 50, 60 hours worth of gameplay depending on how you played it. So, in my opinion, a good price tag. It wasn't like here's a new gun for $5.
Yeah, no, but that's what we're saying though. That's like the rare sequels done right, or not even sequels in that case. In that case, that was just fixing your shit. CD Projekt Red had a terrible launch. They had a lot to make up for. They fixed their game though, and now it's a successful game that's actually good. And the DLC, from what I hear, is amazing. The expansion or whatever you want to call it.
I want to give a tip out there for those who are sim people, sim racers. So I buy the new Forza, Horizon, and then of course Motorsport as well. Here's a tip: buy the Ultimate Edition. And I rarely ever say buy Ultimate Edition of anything, but I say that because if you're into that kind of game, the Ultimate Editions of those racing games, not all of them, I don't know about the stuff over at Gran Turismo, but the Forza stuff, it's going to be cheaper in the long run. When Horizon 5, I think it was, whenever the last Horizon game was that came out, it included a new DLC for Mexico or something. I can't remember exactly where. But anyways, the DLC, if you add the DLC and the base game and then all the card packs as well, the total would be more than the Ultimate Edition by far. And the same with Motorsport. Motorsport, I've gotten so many free cars because I bought the Ultimate Edition of that one. And, it was like $100, which is a lot of money to start off with. But I put well enough hours into it. And it's one of the few times where the premium price tag is well worth the cost. And I think you had some game recently that you did premium or Ultimate Edition, didn't you?
It's been a while since I've done anything that crazy. I did an MMO where I did an early access.
Oh yeah.
And an alpha. And I spent way too much money, but I at least got my money's worth. So, that's a bit of a different situation. But again, there are rare instances where sequels or DLCs or whatever can be worth like the price tag. You get stuff like another good one that was I guess guilty of doing this was Saints Row. Saints Row 3
The last
came
one
out.
bombed. So
Yeah, but Saints Row 3 came out, and the game that became Saints Row 4 was supposed to be DLC. And then they felt like they had enough to go with the superhero gimmick
Mhm.
that they could make it a full game. And let me tell you, as someone who played it, I got bored of the superhero gimmick, I'd say after maybe 5 hours. And I basically, I still used it because that was the core mechanics of the game, but, you know, I got bored of it. So the fact that, I paid, I think at the time it was 40 or 50. I think it was 50. Uh, did I get my money's worth? I don't think so. If compared to the fact that I played Saints Row 3 and felt like I got my money's worth, whereas the quote unquote extra content or whatever that you got with Saints Row 4, yeah, they kind of made it a new game because they had to incorporate these superpowers to make it be like a different world, but at the same time, I don't know. I that was a situation where I felt like that was a poorly executed decision as well. It should have stayed DLC.
yeah, I agree with you on that one. I'm just looking at a list right now of video games that were the sequels were better than the original. You get Halo 2 in there, Uncharted, Mass Effect 2, Mega Man 2, Diablo 2, Street Fighter 2, Batman Arkham City versus Asylum, Half-Life 2. And I think, if you just those games right there, think about the amount of extra content that was available in those games. And I know for sure Diablo 2 was a huge jump with that one. Mega Man, I remember that one. You talk about Mass Effect, Uncharted, huge different. Halo 2, so there, I think the trend is more content available, sometimes better story than the first one. And Resident Evil 2. So a lot of it's the first in the series. So again, like I said earlier, it's the lack of maybe financial stability they want to put into that game. And then the game did well, so they're like, okay, well, let's throw it all in, see what happens. But eventually, when you get Assassin's Creed 25, things start to show its age. Okay, so Civ, the new Civ gun is coming out this year. This would be Civ. What are we on? What was it?
7.
7? Okay.
7. Yeah, it took me a second.
I always forget. But okay,
Yeah.
Civ 7, it's going to sell extremely well. But the difference is with that is it's been when did Civ 6 come out?
Oh, it's been out a while.
2016.
Yeah,
9 years.
It's been out a while, and they put out a lot of DLC for that game, which ends up making like the I guess you could say the Ultimate Edition very, very pricey. But then it also had been out so long that you could usually catch a sale.
Yeah, you
for
can get
like,
it for like $15, $20, if that.
yeah, and then if you could get like just the core game for cheap, and then just wait, and the DLCs would go on their own sale, so you could still end up getting it all cheap. So I mean,
Assassin's Creed's Mirage, which was the last Assassin's Creed game, came out in 2023. Okay, so 2 years ago. What was it? The Shadow, whatever it was called, the new Assassin's Creed was supposed to come out last year, but then got pushed back. So a year later, a brand new Assassin's Creed game comes out. This is what we're talking about when it comes to franchise. There's no rest in there. The fatigue is you just got a new one. And Call of Duty, you talked about it earlier, a brand new Call of Duty every single year. The multiplayer gameplay is damn near the same from 10 years ago. The story's changed, but you play the story one time for 5 hours and you're done.
At the end of the day, it's really just about like where to spend your money. If it makes you happy to buy the new COD game, to buy the new sports game every year, then we're not going to yuck your yum. It's just a matter of letting these companies take advantage of their player base, their customers, by putting out the same game or slightly upgraded version of the game or this or that, and sticking these ginormous price tags on it, and you shelling out your hard-earned money for it and not getting what you're paying for.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are going to be some good titles out there, good sequels, but We're just concerned of the pattern that's been happening,
Oh
and
yeah.
especially now that we go more into live services.
Yep.
My thought was that I thought live services was going to expand the overall time frame between 1 and 2. I think of Division. Division had a few years between each other. Division
Yeah.
2 between Division 2 and Heartland was a few years in there as well. Heartland never came out, and I don't know if we'll ever get a Division 3 now. But
Yeah. Some of
so
those games, they just maybe it was a time thing where they didn't do so well because of the time or how long it took to come out. I don't know. Like, I think it's really about knowing your player base in that regards.
and sometimes people are craving for a sequel, and rumors come out, but nothing ever materializes. BioShock
Oh yeah.
as an example. I have a coworker who loves BioShock. He's played all the BioShock games a billion times, and he's craving for a new one. And what we're getting is from the creators of BioShock, which is Judas, which is supposed to come out March or something this year. And I don't think that's going to happen. But so in having the same creators come out with a new IP is a good idea. I think of Prey is a good example. Prey over from 2K, right? It's
Yeah,
a
it's
sci-fi-ish
okay.
type game. Yeah, sci-fi game. I don't know if it's the same creators or whatnot, but like Dishonored and Prey, and I can't think of the other titles in that same kind of aspect over there. But they're all really, really good games, and it seems like they know what to do when it comes to those new IPs, and they're not overstretching those IPs too much. Because I think we had Prey, and that was it. There was no Prey 2. There's a Dishonored. Was there a Dishonored 2? I can't remember. I know they came out with a newer game not too long ago that came out with a lot of bugs at first, but eventually got fixed, which I can't think of the name of right now. But anyways, they seem to know what they're doing over there. They come out with stories that are intriguing, concepts that are cool, and then they just kind of, okay, there you go, have fun, do what you want to do. We'll come out with something new in maybe 10 years. But either way, console sequels are tiring, boring. Sometimes it can be really, really good. Other times there could be a massive struggle with it. And we're going to see what the future holds when it comes to those new things in the future here. So one thing that I'd like to see when it comes to sequels is that they expand on the base story more. I feel a lot of times with the sequel, they just hint at the beginning of the new title, some of the past references, and not continue on with the story. For example, Indiana Jones that came out not too long ago, I absolutely loved it. It's gotten amazing reviews. The gameplay is really cool. The story is freaking amazing. And there's rumors that Machine Gaming is going to potentially do a sequel. Since it did so well, Disney said, yeah, let's jump into it. Let's do another one. But the question is, will they continue the story, or will they do something completely different and change your overall experience with that title?
I mean, Hades is a good example. Hades 1 was super popular. Made me wonder if there was going to be a sequel, and sure enough, there's a sequel that's happening, and it's a continuation of Hades 1, but with a different storyline, which means and a different character, but everything at least ties in together, and that's like a proper way of doing a sequel, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, anything else to add to this one?
No, not really. I mean, because we could beat you over the head with, why some sequels are bad and some are good, but at the end of the day, you got to make the decision yourself. So there's no sense in, beating that dead horse.
Absolutely. Well, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.
Bye.